It's time for a temperature check in between the pipes. We do this like every 2 weeks with the saga and the drama around this ship. And Matt Murray plays the other night. I thought he was terrible in the first period, quite frankly, but he picked up his game as the game went on. So great to see. Um, the comments from Sheldon Keefe threw me back a bit yesterday. So Matt Murray's starting tonight, by the way, against Buffalo. We're about to preview that game. But what he said more specifically about Ilya Samsonov, not quite at 100% right now. Can you tell me what the fuck that means, Rosie?
I have no idea. I didn't know he was hurt, didn't know he was injured. His last game he seemed
Exactly.
just fine, and now all of a sudden there's just this question
These
mark. I don't
guys,
know
man,
if
I'm telling you.
it's interesting. Maybe it's a flu bug and he just forgot to mention he's in. It's just been something like it's not a huge deal,
I
but he's
hope.
like, yeah, he's not at 100%, so we're going with Murray again. I don't know what it is. Injury, flu bug. I have no idea. He didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
you give that much information, there's going to be nothing but questions about it, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
Murray didn't look overly sharp at the beginning, and then my problem with him was him sliding side to side. Usually they can get completely flat, they can get a full stretch out, go post to post, and get around there. And on that one wraparound goal, I mean, he looked like me with pads on. Like I can only go down like halfway into the splits, and then that's the end of that. That's as far as it's going. There's a huge gap. I'm not stretched out to my full leg span, and to try to slide over like that, I wouldn't have any flexibility or mobility in that. And Murray, being a premier goaltender, looking at him go side to side on that goal, I was like, you weren't even close. Like you weren't even down all the way. You weren't even stretched out. It was like a panic mode. Like I got to get over. You'd think he'd be absolutely giving everything he had to get over there. And it just, there was a foot and change left on that far side. And I just thought that his mobility and flexibility looked pretty subpar, and it was almost like he was kind of laboring to not stretch out too far, which is not a good sign for a goaltender. But after that, he seemed to make some big saves, which were momentum grabbers for the Leafs that they took advantage of. He was able to make some game-saving kind of stops to keep the wheels rolling for the Leafs, and they took advantage offensively after that. So I'm not hating on Matt Murray right now. I'm just saying he didn't look
Yeah.
phenomenal and steal the game.
Every time he goes down on a play, like I wonder if he's ever going to get back up, man. Just the injury, mindset is always lingering because you've seen Matt Murray's body of work throughout his career. Pringle McDingle makes a good point. Samsonov got hit with a puck in the balls. He's probably still feeling it. I did forget about that last
Mm,
week. Remember the game in New Jersey, so his balls still hurt,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I guess it's kind
Understandable.
of weird for your balls to hurt for 5 days after getting hit, especially when they're good enough to finish the game. So I don't know if that's Pringsy McDingsy or not, but it's a theory anyway. It's all we got to go on because it's all we
Yeah.
can think of that was anything negative to his health in the last week.
Dude, I know former goalies and current goalies get up in arms when I say it, but we need a goaltending summit. We really, really do, because I remember the days of Marty Brodeur. He was guaranteed to be out there for 70 games a year. And now, like, a guy plays the back-to-back, and it's like, let's write a fucking thesis paper on it. Like, Connor Hellebuck over the weekend played a back-to-back. It's like, oh, earth-shattering. Analytics community doesn't like it. Like, it really is impeccable how different the position has become and evolved, I guess we'll call it, in the last 15 years, where it's like these guys, A, can't stay healthy, and B, like, it's always a big time story if they play a bunch of games in a row. Where, when I
Yeah.
grew up, and I'm not old, I'm 33, turning 34 this year, and it's like one of those things where it's such a big conversation starter if something out of the norm happens with the goaltenders.
Yeah, that I find it weird because think about back in Brodeur's era. I mean, that was
Yeah.
muck and grind hockey. Guys were running into the
Hmm.
goalies all the time. You didn't have the same nutrition, the hydration. You didn't have the same physiotherapy and athletic therapy. You didn't have the same awareness and technology and medicine and science behind the athleticism that they have now, where you're putting all that stuff into you. You'd think you could go harder, you could go longer, you could go further. And I know these guys can, but they don't. And I don't see the correlation. I mean, if the game got way more physical and way more taxing and way tougher, and their travel was worse, and they don't have as many amenities around them to keep them healthy, then it'd be like, well, that makes sense. It's just tougher to do nowadays. It's the complete opposite, and they're going further and further apart. And
Yeah.
I don't get why the only answer to me, and maybe I'm a dinosaur, is these goalies are soft as shit. These goalies get a little twinge and they're like, I'm out. No chance can I play today. And it's like, Marty Brodeur did that, and he was flailing around and playing the puck out there and getting hit and banged up and playing every game. And he didn't have the hydrotherapy room with underwater treadmills, and they didn't have
It's
5,
crazy. Yeah.
people with letters beside their name working on their bodies all day long and all this fancy stuff and supplements they're putting in their body. He had none of that. And he played 70 games a year, and these guys can't string together 2 in a row or it's some miraculous miracle. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And it's a head shaker to me, but sign of the times, man. Everything's getting soft as shit.